Okay, let's work a bit on guns that reset to their original position after you leave a space so that you can play the level again. And here's another feature, pick up a gun in 2D move, but let's work on this one first. So right now, when you pick up a gun and you move it, it stays in the new position. In fact, if you move anything, it stays in that position. So there's no sense of resetting something. In order to support this, I think we need a global mode, which is editing Boolean. So it's true or false whether you're editing, and it'll be default false. And then we have certain events, like, in fact, it's almost always transform entity. This one needs to have a state where it can be session, the name of something to I guess the layer or the state that you're moving it to. Is it state or is it, I don't know what to call it. Components. Component. It's like a base state. That's not really the state. It's is it also a mode? It's component for which mode? It's not really a layer. It's kind of like just a tag or some kind of like they all occupy, but only one of them is active. So I guess mode is appropriate. Sure, let's start with that. That means the table, components table, needs a mode column, and then we need to set the unique constraint on entity ID. Right now it's entity ID and type, and you gotta make it entity ID type mode and type. So let's start with this global thing. We need to be able to access it from just about anywhere. So we can do what we did with Signal Hub and just declare this as exported as a variable. So we'll call this mode, and we'll just export with no dependencies the const, let's let, const mode equals editing, and then let this be false. You can import it anywhere you want. So where should we start with? Let's start with, how about a toggle? Editing is false, but you can toggle it inside the menu. So let's go to our menu manager and remind me what this looks like. let's open up Chrome. And where shall we put it? In here, can we just put a toggle on one of these things, and only if we toggle it, then we see the tools. Otherwise, you can't see the tools. I think that makes sense. So we'll keep the toggle here and maybe make the tools appear on the right. So where does that leave this? We have our menu, and the first menu here is quite a bit of this is dedicated to the joystick. Let's see, container, state to controls, root container. Here's the browse plane, add control, menu control, and browse control. Yes, yeah, browse control. Okay, so this is the menu control, and then, okay, the main page. The main page is what creates this thing. Okay, and so this last one needs to be a side-by-side thing. And a side-by-side thing is called a span. So let's try making a span here. And we do have a span here. A span takes what now? It takes, I think, a label and any number of properties. So let's just say, let's call this test. And it should have a side-by-side thing. So span takes some properties and then any number of children. So maybe you can give it 2 children, which is, let's give it 2 things you could click on. So A, and then another A, and then this one can be property and A, and then some things and call it B. And so what does this look like? Okay, so it did create a span, left side and a right side. And I would like to put this whole thing cut as the right side here. And then the thing on the left, I don't need this, I want a toggle. Use the toggle. And toggle, does it have a label? Okay. So in the beginning, okay, so the edit part didn't come out. Let's see what goes into toggle. Toggle takes props, any kind of props that need to override this stuff. Value, step, blah 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 blah. And any children. We creates a GUI slider. It itself, I think, the children don't actually get passed into this thing. So I guess this thing doesn't take any children. Child isn't passed along at all. Okay, so going back to main, guess it can just be like this. Toggle. But it can return something, right? And that's where we find toggle. Have we used toggle before? Toggle. Let's say that the const edit toggle is toggle. And this will be the edit toggle. And this thing with green is cloud true, min, max, step 1, horizontal alignment. So you can override any of these things. Defaults, props, that's fine, don't care. But I think it can support an on something or other callback. It's a particular type of GUI control. Toggle is a GUI slider. And so this has on value changed observable, add, and can you give us the value, event data, event state? So I think we can use the first one, data, and we'll just console log the data out. Let's go console up. So if we toggle this, we get 1, toggle get, we get 0. Great. So let's import mode from mode. And if data is greater than 0.5, which is 1, then do what? We'll say that the mode editing equal true. Else mode editing equals false. And do we have mode here? No. But we can peek into it by saying that window mode equals this mode. So changes anywhere should be reflected. So what's mode? Editing false. And if I go here and I do this, what's mode now? Editing true. And now, editing false. Okay. And then in the, okay, so you can toggle it back and forth. So we can make this callback here, or this value here, conditional based on whether it's currently editing true or false. So we can say row let row, and then if mode editing, if that's true right now, then give me this value here. This is row. If mode editing is false, then just give me the toggle portion. And so to begin with, it's false. And then if I toggle this, it's false, but why am I still getting a spam? Oh, because I need to say row. So it is false. Oh, I'm getting undefined. Oh, row equals. Okay, interesting. Maybe we should give it more of a... What is an in an A? An A actually uses a button GUI text blocks G. What's in G, which is kind of accurate. Maybe it'll look better inside a div. Can that make it better? Just apply a little bit of width in there. Somewhat, okay. Perhaps it's still good to use a span. And instead of putting the tools here, we'll just put the editing. And here we'll put edit toggle, editing, and then tools. Great. So if we change this, we need to re-render. And to cause a re-render, let's see, menu manager. Currently it's listening for something. What's it listening for? It's listening for menu open, menu closed, is browser, render. Menu opened, menu topic. Okay, menu opened. Okay, my state, client ready. Okay, so we can cheat by just sending another menu topic to the current menu topic. That will just force a render. Or we could just call this render. Yeah, no need to send a message. Yeah, where am I? Name it. Oh, wait. We're calling it from here, though, so we don't have access to that function. So go with the previous plan, which was change the topic. Of course, we don't know what the topic is. Oh, yes, we do. It's main. So whenever we change this, we're going to change the editing mode, and then we're going to publish emit menu topic. Topic will be main. Cool. It kind of worked, but it's we're only toggling it into true, and as a refresh, it didn't keep the true state. So this value here in the toggle must get its value from here. We've got to give it value. So value can be, let's say if we set it to 1, it should always be toggled. Yes, great. And so this, we'll just say if mode editing, if that's true, then have it be 1, otherwise it's 0. So now we'll toggle, that'll be true, we'll toggle off, it'll be there. So the only way to get to the tools is to do this, and get back, and if I do this, I can't get to the tools anymore. Great. Okay, that works out pretty well. I'm staying here. Great, that works out pretty well. Now with that set, anytime I'm doing this, we're setting it to the base layer. And if it's off, so if I toggle it off, this should go to the session layer. And what is emitting? Let's see, types. What is emitting? So the ones in question are maybe the entity grabbed, entity released. So this is the one I'm talking about because that'll depend on the mode. Entity transformed, you kind of can't even get to it without being in the edit mode. So it really is kind of more about entity grabbed and entity released. So this one needs to have kind of the session. I think it should be called session, not mode. It'll be called session, and the session is edit or live. Well, let's sort of save our changes here. We'll come back to this next time, which we've made this global editing thing, and events actually isn't transform entity. It's like entity grabbed, entity released. Maybe not even grabbed, because we only changed its position on the entity released. This should have a session of either nothing. Null means like editing, or well, let's make it explicit. So it's either editing or it's live. Then we still want a components table needs a session column. Unique ID can be the entity ID, the session, and the type. Leaving the possibility for other sessions. You're going to edit live and maybe some that are like other states, like slide 1, slide 2. And there's not really sessions though, right? Then they really are states. But they don't really have to have a one-to-one here, because the state here, the components have a state. And we'll just make this release something. Yeah, this is like a live thing or an editing thing. Okay, let's sleep on that and save our changes here.